What is happening, everybody? I hope you've had a good...
Back in like 2005, something like that.
I think my first comment was, oh, it's Friday Junior.
It's Friday Junior, it's podcast day, it's payday.
And when you come out, do it electrically. Doesn't matter how you feel about the situation.
My name is Raff, and always before we start the podcast, because we just want to talk about it. We want to talk about music and just share those stories and experience. This is my co-host, Carl, aka the BeerBuddy. He is hailing you.
This sort of weird era where they're sort of right in that post-grunge.
Look, you're fighting the good fight in today's world. My war was fought 40 years ago, really.
We are the two dudes who talk music, and we are here. Hey, I'm too quick on that air horn button, mate. How you doing?
Yeah, that is amazing. I love it. You're second on the dude. Fantastic.
How you going, legends? I am the Reverend Raff. This here is my co-host, Kyle, aka the BeerBuddy. We are the two dudes who talk music, and we are here today with another podcast episode for you. But before we dive into that, hit that subscribe button down there if you like what we do. It would mean a lot to us. It helps the channel grow. It gives YouTube a happy signal that maybe it should send the video to more people. So, if you like what we're doing, please consider hitting that subscribe button.
And if you don't like what we're doing, just hit what we're doing and put heaps of shit on us in the comments.
Yeah, get in the comments there, downvote the video, all of that stuff, It all counts. YouTube just thinks it as engagement, so, But, yes, we do podcast every Thursday, and some ancillary content from that on the weekends, as well as reaction videos every Monday and Friday and Wednesday. If there's lots of them coming out, we'll drop them on Wednesdays too. So there's videos coming out all the time. I apologize for I don't know if you can see it at the moment. I apologize. You probably see a bit of mess in the background of my room in this video. It's I've just rejigged the office a little bit, so I'm still got to finish tidying up from that. Now, one thing that I do want to address before we really dive into the guts of today's video is if you follow us on social media, you may have already seen a post about this. I would just like to extend an apology to the crew in Shepherd's Reign. We did a reaction to one of their songs very recently. Great song, amazing band. You should definitely go and check them out. We, through that video, incorrectly referred to them as Maori and believed that they were performing the song in a Maori language. That is not the case. They are Samoan. I made an assumption, ignorantly so, just because they had looked a certain way and were based out of New Zealand. I made an assumption that was wrong, so I do genuinely and heartfeltly apologize. We will absolutely do better in future.
100%.
But I just wanted to address that on here, as I have done on the socials, because I think that it is really important to own up when a mistake has been made. And that is on me, by the way. That is on me. I was the one that brought the video to the fore. I was the one that said that they were Maori, so that's 100% on me. But we promise to absolutely endeavor to do better in future, and we do encourage you guys, if we ever make a mistake when we are talking about this stuff for either in our reactions, podcasts, or any of our videos or online, if you feel that we've made a mistake, please tell us. Please tell us. We're human beings. We don't know everything. We will make mistakes. Promise that it only ever comes from a place of ignorance and not malice. So, we are always open to being corrected if we have made a mistake. So, thank you very much to the gentleman that corrected us. His comment is pinned on the Shepherd's Reign video. I should have grabbed his YouTube handle. I apologize for not getting that, but it's, we just wanted to say thank you to him and to, again, just apologize for that error on my part. So, with that out of the way, my friend, how are you doing?
Dude, I'm fantastic. I am so good. The content's been coming in thick and fast. Everyone's been really responsive. Everyone's correcting us when we get things wrong, which is fantastic because it helps us learn and grow, like you said.
Yes, absolutely.
We're not, like you said, we're not here to fucking piss anyone off or not give people the correct credit from where they're from or what it's due. It's just, it is what it is. But, yeah, I am doing really well. I mean, other than I saw Raff's new setup and it's looking pretty bagged.
Yeah, it's a bit, like I said, it's a little messy in the background. Just had to move a new desk in, reshuffle a couple of things for a little bit of, make room for a little bit of work from home. But other
than that, how are you going, my friend? How's the music been? How's everything going in your camp?
pretty good. A lot of you know this, Kyle, but a lot of the fans don't necessarily know this yet. We are going to be starting up a very special series of videos soon. The podcast over the next few months is going to be focused around a very, very specific event that's coming up. Really awesome music festival that is happening later in the year, and we're going to be having a ton of bands on from that over the coming weeks and months. So that's keep an eye out for that, because hopefully that's going to be starting within the next couple of weeks.
Oh yeah.
And with any luck, we may even be attending said event. So I'm not going to say what it is just yet. You'll find all about it once we start posting about it. But we're very, very excited. We are very, very excited for this one. I've bought some new gear for it, which is going to be fun. And it's going to be a hell of a time getting there and back.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's going to be a hell of a time getting there and back.
It'll be content for days. We're going to have to bring it out in fucking 6 videos.
Yeah. It's going to be, look, we are going to be having a lot of interviews and talking with a lot of incredible bands over the next few months. So I'm really, really excited about that. It's going to be a very special time. It's going to be something akin to what we did for the New Metal Mayhem tour last year. So if you're familiar with what we did there, it'll be a similar thing. All of the episodes are going to be focused around this event. All the bands are going to be bands that are playing at this event. So yeah, you're going to be it's an event that we think is going to be really, really cool. So we hope that you guys are going to come with us on that journey and are going to have as much fun with it as we are. But mate, today we've got something a little bit different. We haven't really had anyone like this before on the podcast. It's from a band that was around a long time ago and has just recently, within the last sort of 9 months or so, made a bit of a comeback. You kind of found this one, so give us a bit of info.
Yeah, well, this amazing death metal band, sorry, I shouldn't say thrash, they're a death metal band. We're kicking around back when Mortal Sin were kind of hitting their peaks over in Sydney and stuff like that. And mate, I'll tell you what, they've had a 25-year hiatus, and I managed to catch them at their second show, which was in Sydney, and they hacked the freaking joint out, even after a 25-year break. So in my eyes, we got some legendary. We got a legend on board, and with that, I cannot be privileged enough to introduce Paul from Automation, death metal band from Sydney. Paul, let's get to it.
Thank you very much, Paul, for joining us today. We very much appreciate you taking some time out of your Sunday to chat to us two goofs. So for those who may not be familiar, tell us a little bit about the band and where that, the origins of that was back in the day.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for having us. Look, we, I suppose Automation kicked off with the group that is together now, like myself, Grahame Goode, Michael Kordek and Dickson. I think it was 1996. Me, Brad and Michael were playing with a friend that we went to school with, which kind of, we sort of all felt it wasn't sort of going the direction they wanted to. And we caught up with Grahame, and, I suppose we were like a high school sort of wannabe death metal band. And then Grahame sort of added his drums to it, and then it was almost overnight we turned into a death metal band, So in 1996 we started practicing with Grahame, and I think we were probably together for a couple of months, and we jagged a gig down at Canberra.
Yeah,
and it was sort of like during the week there's something on Friday night. Do you just want to play? And we've just gone, let's give it a crack, and we drove down to Canberra and played a good gig, and it was like, mate, we're officially a band, let's do it. So
normally that works the other way around. You normally go to the pub, watch a band, go, I can do that better, start the band, go back, practice, and then hope that you get rebooked at that show that you saw that band at. So how old would you guys have been back then? And was that your first show was down in Canberra?
Yeah, pretty like I'd say as a death metal band. I mean, the band that we were playing like at school with, we never would have played an official gig. Like we used to play like band competitions, and you know, like we probably sort of maybe thrash metal. You know, we used to tune to be, and we loved Carcass, and you know, we sort of loved Napalm Death and all that sort of stuff. But we definitely weren't sort of capable of, you know, playing at those speeds. But yeah, that first gig we got at Canberra, that was probably the first official one that we played. And we just sort of knocked it out and gone, you know, like, wow, we can actually do this. So I was only 17. I think Michael would have been 18. I think Grahame was maybe 21 and Brad would have only been 16.
Far out.
Babies, eh?
Far out. But you even think about it, at least there were places back then for young blokes to cut their teeth. They're getting few and far between these days. I mean, ramp it down sort of there. And from what I hear, there's an all ages event that they run once a month in Seven Hills or something like that. But yeah, these all ages gigs where kids can go and fucking sort their lineup, sort their sound and their stage presence out. It's just hard now.
Well, back in those days, I guess, you know, like 17 and 16, you know, we were kind of close enough to pass for adults so you could get into the pubs. But, like, there's no chance of that happening anymore. You know, you have to, you know, like you have to show your ID when you go into the pubs. So, yeah, if you're underage, you just can't do it. So, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a bit rough. And, I mean, like, I think that's one of the key things that we talk about, because Kyle and I being, you know, doing what we're doing here and sort of trying to, I guess, promote things and just kind of keep the spark alive for ourselves and promote and encourage others where we can.
Yep.
Like we're all about trying to make the next generation like able to come up and do their stuff. You know, big supporter up here of what the Schema Collective's doing with those all ages shows and putting on bands of all ages because they're at public spaces, they're at skate parks, which is great. Like that's a great setup. And obviously, you know, Kyle with what's happening with like the Ram It Down and things like that, you know, it's really, really like encouraging for that. But you're right. Like, I mean, back in sort of the late 90s, early 90s, there was way more spaces for, you know, there was like PCYC gigs and, you know, in Penrith you had what were the ones at, that like cafe that was at the
Woolshed, the old Woolshed or whatever it was.
No. I'm thinking
Cowshed?
No, the one that was at it was in Penrith. It was the spot off one of the arcades in Penrith. For the life of me, I can't remember what it was called, but there was a spot down there that they did them all the time, and it was you know, there was just a lot more opportunities, I think, for kids.
I think the metal scene was a lot more prevalent back then, you know, like the 90s was you know, in the 90s you had bands like Metallica and Pantera and, you know, like playing on the radio, you know, like hitting the charts, and it's unheard of these days, you know. It's most of the crowds you see at the gigs are a lot of the same faces that we, you know, like I didn't go to a gig for 20 years, but, you know, you're seeing there's still the same faces, you know, like back in my day, the old people didn't listen to metal music, but now it's like you don't get many young people listening to metal music. It's all that same sort of crowd. So
yeah. Well, I think it's because it's dad rock now, right? It's dad metal. It's the same thing. It's, you know, rock. It happened with rock and roll, where rock became, you know, most of what could be done had been done, and it was all just kind of safe. And then metal became the rebellious thing, and then that's been around long enough to be established and safe again. So like, kids aren't listening to metal to rebel anymore the same way that they used to. It's not treated with that same danger, and it's just not got that allure that it once had. Like if your kids are looking for a way to rebel against their parents, it's not heavy metal anymore. Really, not nearly as much as it used to be. And that was, I think, a key part of it. I mean, we talk about that period through the 90s and the 2000s. There was, you know, like you had all the grunge bands coming up through the 90s and the explosion of death metal, and into what happened with nu metal and hardcore in the 2000s. And it was just, Like that was rebellion. That was the way of going like fuck you to society.
Yep.
And now, like it's not that anymore. It's just not.
It was a fuck you to society, but it was so popular. Like when you think about it, Anthrax were in an episode of Married with Children.
Yeah,
But they trashed out Bundy's house. You know what I mean? Like we like metal, rock, and all punk and stuff like that was at the forefront. It was in families' living rooms, whether they liked it or not.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost at the stage now where the only way you can either rebel against your metalhead parent, because you can't really rebel too much, is either going down the full rap path, or you chuck on some real weird techno metal, and that chances are that's probably going to piss off your dad that only listens to Slayer and shit like that. You know,
but that's the thing. Like if you've got metalhead parents, a lot of the time those parents are a lot more sort of open and caring, and you know they're not. They allow the kids to have that self-expression because they know that they didn't have it or they struggled to find it as kids, right?
That's right. We all suffered through it, you know.
Yeah. So we, as metalhead parents, are generally more, you know, open and accepting of what their kids are interested in, even if they don't understand it, because it's just we know what it's like to not have that acceptance.
Yeah. Well, that was one of our songs that we recorded on our first. We did like a demo tape, and all we did was played 4 songs in the studio and put it on tape. But the first song, Meat Tray, I actually used it like for a writing piece in an English class, and it sounds kind of it sounds grotesque, but it's just using a lot of big words to get across a pretty simple meaning. And so the meaning of the song was about metalheads and the way that we get picked at by society, you know, like a meat tray, you know, like so. And that was the basis of the song. The first line of the song was tested and molested in this writhing abode. And, you know, abode's like a small community. Writhing is like, you know, sort of like wriggling like through society, and we're tested and molested while we're, you know, like trying to get through society just the best that we can. So pretty much exactly what you said, except now we're all adults. We're used to the being tested and molested, and we don't want our kids to have the same thing. So
Exactly.
Well, no offense to anyone that wants a safe space, but try being a metalhead growing up in the late, like in the 80s and 90s and then the early 2000s and stuff like that. We got picked on fucking heaps. That was not a safe. If you wore black and you had long hair or shit like that, my old man told me about a fucking story where a bunch of dudes rolled up to a metalhead on a bus stop who had long hair and set his fucking hair on fire. Like,
and look, I mean, it's still it's some places they still cop a lot of shit. Like I can, you know, we had that story from. What was it, from the 2010s about like that goth girl in England who got like beat up so bad, literally like they beat her up because she was a goth and she was dressed goth, and they beat the shit out of her and she died, which is horrific. And it's like, it just, the fact that there are people like I get it's a lot better than it was, and you know it's still, unfortunately there's still people out there that want to be, you know, closed-minded fucks about it all, but
pretty much,
you know, it's definitely a lot better than it was, thankfully, and not as many people have to deal with that. And like I said, you know, it's now that the people that were the metal kids have grown up, and you know, we're all. I mean, I'm not, but a lot of them are parents. A lot of us are parents now, and you know, it's about how can we like protect our kids from going through the same stuff that we went through. And you know, it's it's been great for me getting back out there this year, especially to see the mingling of younger and older generations of rockers and metalheads, and for the most part, the positive nature with which we're all interacting and engaging with it.
Well, that's one of the things that I noticed. Like, I remember I played at the Iron Duke one night, and it was a pretty big one. Like, it was a full house in there, and my brother and a couple of his friends came, and they were 2 girls, and they were going out in the city. My brother had like a bright yellow Hawaiian T-shirt on, and these girls had some, you know, pretty bright colours on, and I was up on stage, and one of the girls come up and said g'day to me, and she said, like, you know, she's like, she goes, what is this place, you know? She goes, it's terrifying. And I said to her, look, so I said, just relax. I said, you know, I said, all the years I've been doing this, I said, I've never ever seen a fight at any of the gigs that we play. I've gone, I said, they all look mean. You know, I said, mate, you know, if you actually got the chance to go around and talk to all these people, I said, you probably find that they're all like really friendly, and they might look at you a bit weird because you're not wearing black clothes, but they're, you know, they're not going to be aggressive towards you. And I think, like, by that stage, you know, I was out of wearing all the black clothes and all that. And I used to walk into gigs all the time. You know, I had no long hair, be clean shaven, you know, and people would look at you weird. But after you play the gig, you know, and you sort of tear the house down and they all want to talk to you and they all want to buy you beer, and, you know, they might look at you a bit funny at first because you're not wearing black, but they don't judge you, you know, just because you're not, you know. So,
But that's the ultimate lesson.
Yeah.
That's the lesson, right? It's like, you know, you're not, you this idea of, you know, oh, you have to be part of the non-conformist group by wearing the same color as them and all having long hair the same as everybody else. It's like, no, it's not about that. It's about just whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah, everyone feeling free to do their own thing, pretty much.
Precisely. Now, so you guys have had quite the lengthy hiatus away from things. So when was, now I know you guys, was it the return gig was very recently, wasn't it?
Yeah, so we played 2023. We played the Drencher Festival down in Melbourne at Geelong. That was, I think, the 26th of August. So it was a friend of Graham's got us on that one. So that sort of kicked us off, got us back in there. But, yeah, the first gig back in Sydney was in January, playing at the Reema Down Festival. So,
and prior to that show in August of last year, when was the last automation gig?
1999. Would have been pretty bad November 99.
And okay, so had you just for fun and to keep your chops up and everything, had you continued to like practice and perform the material over the years, or? No,
look, I mean, like Michael Kordek, he went and played in Day's End, I think about 2007. So he was active. I know, like Grahame Goode's been active, you know, non-stop. He's played with a number of bands. You know, I think Killraiser was the most recent one. But,
Killraiser. That's
Day's End.
But yeah, Graham's, you know, very well known in the industry. He's very well respected. He sent me a message probably about 10, 11 years ago. Guy Richie Norton from Super Heist, he recorded our EP, and he asked Grahame if we wanted to play some gigs with him. And I think I just retired from playing rugby league, which I sort of played for 15 years, and he sent me the message, you want to get back together? And I said, yeah, man, like 100%. Like, it's a bit, you know, I haven't played for 10 years, so, you know, I'm going to need a bit of work. But that was just one text message, and that never went anywhere. So he sent us a message, I think, 2022, you know, just want to get back together again. And I said, well, mate, I was ready 10 years ago, you know, so I've been waiting for a message for 10 years. So, but yeah, like realistically playing, you know, I probably hadn't played a guitar probably for 20 years.
Fuck.
Wow.
Dude, no bullshit.
Yeah.
Bruv, I'll be the first one to admit, when I saw you ram it down, and I'm just going, ex-footy player straight away. I went, he's played for someone. Look at the absolute. This guy's arms are bigger than my fucking head, firstly.
Well, just so happened I played 15 seasons of first grade for Camden, so playing at the ram it down at the sports club there, where I've spent half my life, was a pretty good return gig. So.
Mate, and I'll tell you what, 120 people. That's the highest number that we've had at Ram It Down in a fucking year, in the year that we've been there. How did it feel sort of getting back into it, having that reception back in your home turf after that long?
Well, yeah, look, I mean, the Melbourne gig was we probably, it definitely wasn't a great performance. And, I was very, like, just personally, it wasn't a great performance. Very nervous, and I really struggled to get my fingers working, and, just being on stage and, trying to put on a show and, forgetting when to come back to the mic and stuff sort of like that. It wasn't a polished performance in any way, but it kind of pricked me up, like, and got me back to, thinking about the things that I needed to perform. So I'd already, I'd worked on a lot of things from that gig to Camden. And still, you always get very nervous, like, when you're playing, but, it was, I think we played our first song there, and, I was, by the end of the first song, I was really enjoying myself. And
looked like it.
Yeah, and it just, it made it, sort of, when you enjoy yourself, the nerves that are all, fly away, and you just start playing naturally and performing naturally. And yeah, there was and in all honesty, I think we'd had maybe four band practices, like, in the last 20 odd years to do that performance. So yeah, it was that was a good show for us to get us going again. Yeah.
I mean, look, you say once you get up there and you get into it, all the nerves and the trepidation sort of falls away. It's like, that's it, man. Like, when it's in your heart, it's in your heart. It's just like you're never far from it when it's a part of who you are. And you obviously had, like, other sort of priorities and other focuses through your life there, but it's clear that there's a part of you that's always going to be, with the music. And
I never stopped listening. I never stopped listening to music. Like, I listen to all music. Like, I listen to the Today FM on the radio quite a bit. There's no doubt that death metal is my favourite. But, there's nothing really that I don't like. But, yeah, always listen to our EP. That was always familiar in my head. I was probably just, not that I never wanted to play. I think we, just never ever got the invitation, That's why I think, when I got an invite 10 years ago, I was straight away like, 100%, let's do it. And this time around, it was exactly the same. Like, I've been waiting 10 years for this phone call. Like, let's do it again.
I was surprised you didn't actually start anything back up as a little side gig. I mean, your writing is impeccable. We was listening to the automation stuff you have on Spotify today, and dude, it's still chops. Like, dude, to be fair, death metal, as far as I'm concerned, unless you're really throwing in a lot of synth parts and stuff like that, it really can't change too much unless you're starting to get 7 and 8 string guitars and really starting to try and pop your down tuning and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's what I've noticed, like, coming back, just a lot of music. It's you hear, like, everyone's got their own sort of stuff, but it's very hard to come up with new stuff. There's so much music out there, and it's going to be there's going to be, like, similar sort of sounds, but I think within your music you gotta try and come up with some unique stuff, like, in some part of your songs, whether it's like structure or sounds and it does my head in a bit, quite honest. But yeah, look, I never really I find it hard just to settle on to the that sounds okay. Like, it's got to it's really got to sing to me, like, for me to want to put it in my song. So
nothing wrong with that, man.
Yeah.
Having high standards, I mean, it's important. It's important,
Well, I'm sorry, that's what
with just good enough. If you get with just good enough, like, it just doesn't make the impact, right? Like, you have to have...
look, it's I mean, everybody who is successful, they've sort of got their own sound, they got their own unique sort of, like, part of their music. So that's part of why I like sort of not wearing the black clothes anymore. It's just, it's a different it's a different image.
100%.
I think trying to grow the hair long and do all that again is just becoming mainstream, which we don't want to do. And it's natural because it's just the way I am now anyway. So, but it's the same with the music. It's trying to you can't write music without having influence. So there's always going to be, your music's always going to have influential sounds, but it's just coming up with your own, your own sort of unique part to it that really makes it,
It's funny. I heard a quote the other day on Instagram, and it was referring to painters, but I mean it's relevant to exactly what you said just there. It's when you create art, the last thing you want to be is compared to another artist.
Yeah.
And he was talking about the last thing you want to do is be compared to you paint like Picasso, or your brushstrokes are like this person.
Yeah.
I guess that same can sort of travel into music and stuff like that. Yep. Otherwise you get thrown into that. This is that rip-off band, or you said you guys are trying to sound like this, or
there needs to be, I mean, there's always going to be points of comparison, I guess. So you can be like, well, it's kind of like if you took X, Y, Z band. Like I like a band if you have to refer to about 3 or 4 other bands to describe their sound. So you go like, okay, it's like a mixture of it's like a mixture of X, Y, Z, rather than it sounds like this band. If you're mixing 3 or 4 things together, it's like, okay, cool. It's hopefully going to be, that's generally a sign to me that it's going to be something a bit more interesting and unique, rather than, it sounds like, they sound like Korn or they sound like Slipknot.
Yeah, that's right.
And speaking of Slipknot, I mean, as we're recording this, 25 years today since the self-titled album.
Yeah, right.
There you go. Yeah.
Long time.
That only came out last week, bro. I remember buying
Oh, we're fucking old now.
I think we're just lucky, as a group. Like, I mean, I've never sort of regarded myself as a very good guitarist, but I've always written all our music, so and to be able to sort of play and sing, I guess I've just got my own talent there. I'm definitely not the best guitarist going around. I know that 100%. I don't have a natural talent. It's all just based on hard work, but there's definitely, I've got my own style when it comes to writing music. Michael Kordek, he doesn't provide a lot of stuff, a lot of content with the music, but when it comes to solos, he's definitely, you can't listen to that guy's solos and go, he sounds like this guy or that guy. He's definitely got his own style. And he's not, he doesn't do a lot of shredding or anything like that, but he's kind of probably similar to me the way I like my music. Like he just constructs, like good sounding pieces, And then you got obviously Grahame, who's, he's just phenomenal, mate. He's definitely got his own style. There's a way that he plays that there's no other drummer, like death metal drummer, that does some of the things that he does. And then you got Brad Dickson, who, he was a guitarist. Like, we were mates at school, and he was a year below me, and we needed a bassist for our band. So he said, I'll play bass. So basically he comes in and he plays bass like a guitarist. And he's like the same as me. He doesn't have a high opinion of himself, but to play the music that we play, like with a guitar-style bass, and he plays all the notes, he plays all the fast notes, he plays all the scales, and you just don't see other bassists playing like that. And he might not be the best bassist going around, but he's got his own unique style. So, I think it just... it just works for us, even though we might not be, probably I put Grahame up there with the best of the best. The rest of us, I wouldn't say we're the best at what we do, but, we've got our own way of doing things, So.
Man, it's the fucking right way at the moment. I can't think of any other band locally that's had a 25-year hiatus or something like that, and then come back as hard and as strong as what you guys have had in the last 6 months?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
It's what was COVID sort of a kind of a factor to get the band back together?
Look, I don't know. Like, I mean, Grahame was the one that sort of put out the message. I think he just, I think he didn't have a band at the time, and I think we all sort of loved the band. We've all been mates. Like, it's not like we haven't talked to each other for 20 years. We've always been in contact. So. I don't know if that was a decider for him, but yeah, for me it was just been something that I'd been sort of keen to do for a long, long time.
We're very happy you've done it. We're very happy you've done it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, me too. To be honest, I think I'm enjoying it a lot more like this time around than when I was younger. To be honest.
What do you think the biggest changes in the last 25 years in the scene coming out of what was then and what is now?
I think, definitely, like with the online world, I think it's like to get the music, to listen to the music is so much easier. Just the likes of Spotify and Apple Music, sort of stuff like that. I mean, we stumbled onto when I was learning how to play guitar. We went through Guns N' Roses and then progressed on to Metallica, and Metallica was the be-all and end-all. And then the drummer that we had at the time, he used to listen to 3 Hours of Power on Triple J. And he stumbled onto Sepultura. And then, obviously, the first time we heard that, we thought it was ridiculous. And then not too far down the track, we're playing, I think the first concert that I played and sang, I played Chaos AD, and I sang and played it at a school disco. And we got in trouble off our music teacher because she didn't like it. But they asked, I just put my hand up and said, I'll do it. And they go, well, can you do it? And I said, I think so. I'll give it a crack. The next thing after Sepultura was Carcass, That's what this Mortal Coil was on Triple J. Just going, wow, like let's but that's how we stumbled onto metal music. That's how we got into it. Now, like it's a lot easier to get hold of, So,
so how do you? So, as someone that's like been involved, been listening to and involved in like was involved with like the death metal kind of stuff back then, and now, how do you feel like? What do you listen to much of like the modern kind of up and coming death metal bands that are playing out there? Like, what do you think of what's going on with them? And do you?
Yeah, well, that's one thing that I've I don't do enough of. I mean, I work as a supervisor for a construction company. I've got 2 kids. I'm passionate about my fitness. I'm passionate about my guitar. I've got very little spare time, and I really just I don't get opportunities just to sit down and listen to music. It just don't happen, So that's why sort of playing these gigs has been great. Just going seeing bands that you never heard of, and just seeing good music. Doing trips down to Melbourne is great. Listening to metal for 10 hours straight. It's sort of getting me up to speed. But yeah, look, I wish I had more time to do it, to be honest.
Oh, mate, there aren't enough hours in a day when you got to sleep for fucking 8, work for 8, and then it's wife and kids.
I wish I could get 8 hours sleep, and I wish I only had to work for 8 hours. So.
Yeah, I was going to say, with that kind of schedule, he's not getting 8 hours sleep.
No, I'm just trying to split it into thirds to try and give people a sort of demographic, and then you expand from there. That's what's meant to happen. Yep. Your day's meant to be split into 3, but they don't take into consideration your 2 hours of commute. If you do overtime, time with the kids. Yeah. You get like 2 hours to yourself, and that's when 15-minute blocks on the toilet with your phone come into play.
Yep.
Yeah. And then you don't have energy to do anything either.
No, not unless you're like Paul, who takes his fitness seriously.
Well, yeah. Look, it's it's not easy, but you know, I was working with Brad Dickson last week, our bassist, and he sort of asked me, like, you know, are you still practicing every day? And I said, yeah. And he's like, you can tell he's struggling with his kids and he's struggling to find the time. And he's like, how do you find the time to do it? I said, well, one thing you have to do, like, if you've got the time, and you're watching TV or whatever, like, and you don't feel like it, you just, like, you have to do it. You never regret it, because once you've finished playing, you're always, you know, glad that you did. But you know, you miss that opportunity, and then tomorrow something comes up with your kids and you can't play again, and then, you know, before you know it, you've had 5 days you didn't play guitar, and you're like, you just took 2 steps backwards instead of moving forward. So it's just having that mindset of just making the most of your time when you got it, you know. You know,
it's a big discipline thing too, you know.
Oh, it's a huge discipline. Like, I literally don't have time to sit on the lounge anymore. If I want to do some exercise and play guitar, I've got to, you know, I've got to do it first. I do my exercise first, put my kids to bed, and then I play guitar, and then, you know, get to bed by 10 o'clock and then get up at 4 o'clock, you know. So
it's all right. You can just get your squats in by doing them nice big deep crab stances with your guitar.
Yeah, the crab. Yeah.
Just do squats like that, you know?
Yeah. Or you can, like, do some, like, learn some, you know, mid 2000s hardcore and do that running on the spot thing that they all do as well. You know, just get that.
I might take that. Coordinations are good.
I mean, it's amazing to see, though. I think that a band that was, you know, that was around so long ago can come back after that kind of hiatus, and, like, the fans are still there. The people that like the music are still going to come out to the shows, right? It's like, I mean, I was not nearly as big of a gap, but I joined a band up here in Queensland that kind of had been on a break for several years, and, you know, the guy was trying to sort of bring it back, revive it, I guess. And, like, the reception to that, even after, like, sort of 5 years, was crazy. Like, everyone was like, like, you're back, it's amazing. And so, so, I mean, I can't imagine how good it must have felt to you know, when you bring it back. And obviously, like, you wouldn't have had, you know, didn't have social media back then, so there wasn't, like, an existing social media presence that you could pick back up again, right? You kind of had to start that from scratch and find the people that were the fans, and how that sort of build that up sort of from scratch, but not even, like, you don't even know where to look for the people, I guess, after that amount of time, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess, you know, for me and Dicko, we went to school together. You know, a lot of our mates used to follow us around everywhere, and even though they weren't all death metal fans, but they just loved it, you know. So all those people still exist. But like I said, like, when we made the decision to do it again, it wasn't a question of let's just do it. It was after 20 odd years, like, I wasn't even sure if I was capable of doing it. And the first sort of couple of weeks I got on the guitar, I really wasn't. And I kind of, you know, I started off with the likes of bit of slower stuff like No Love Lost from Carcass, like those sort of, like, easier to manage, you know, death metal songs to get the confidence going. And probably took me about probably 4 or 5 weeks before I actually decided, yeah, look, you know, I've got a long way to go, but I am capable of doing it. So, you know, it was straight off the bat, it was a bit of hard work to get it going again. But one thing I've noticed since we come back, like, everywhere we play, everybody just says, you know, like, it's great to hear some old school death metal. Like, it just doesn't seem to exist anymore, you know. So
we were talking to Brad last night. You guys go down the whole path of no effects pedals, no pedals, anything. You guys just plug straight into the amps, run that natural distortion out of your Marshalls, and it's just 100% go. It's like you'll turn that shit up to, like, you broke the other Marshall amp that turns up to 11. You'll turn yours up to 12. I don't know how you done it, but I think that's what people are talking about. Just that wall of sound that just comes straight out. It's natural. There's no
Raw.
yeah.
And it's different to what, as you say, no one else is really doing that at the moment.
Yeah.
So it's a way that you guys are able to stand out without really, you're not really doing anything special to try and stand out.
Yeah.
You're like, this is just how we did it back in the day,
Yeah.
and no
Even
one else
though
does it
it's
that
old,
way
it's
now.
almost like it's new again.
Yeah, no one else does it that way, so we're just gonna keep doing that because that's what works for us.
Yep.
And it stands out. It helps you guys have a point of difference from anyone else on the bill.
Yeah.
And there's something to be said, I think, for most metalheads that have been around the traps for a while, is they get what the rawness brings. The rawness has a truth to it that can sometimes be lost in overproduction if people aren't careful, going into too heavy with samples and effects and different things these days.
There's nothing to hide behind, is there?
That's it.
Well, no. Yeah, well, I mean, the studio that we practice in down in Melbourne, he sort of records out of that studio there as well. And we're having a talk to him about it. And he sort of said, he goes, people don't record real music anymore. He goes, the guys come in, they record, and then I spend a week like fixing it all and making it all perfect. But he said no one actually does this in real recording anymore. I said, well, we will be. It's not too far away, but
So are you guys just all four of you go in there, live room, do the recording the old school way?
Yeah, look, it will be. Yeah.
Fuck! Hey, respect, nothing but respect, man, because nobody fucking doing it no more. I mean, to be fair, that was the way the Offspring done it for their first album.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it you can't say it don't fucking work when it has.
Yep. Yeah, well, look, all the music that I listened to in the 90s, that's how everybody did it.
Yeah. And is that something that is sort of imminent, I guess, for you guys? Like, is there material in the works ready to be recorded for a new release anytime soon?
Yeah, look, we got plans. I've got quite a few songs. I had Michael Kordek was over at my place this morning, putting some stuff on GarageBand. So I suppose we're putting all our stuff down, so it's so it's listenable and practicable. We still they're not 100%, but look, we can't. We're not just we don't want to be a tribute band from our music in the 90s. Like everybody wants to record new music, so I think we at the moment. We've got a number of gigs booked to the end of the year, and we'll be sort of knocking those out. But I think once that's done, we'll focus on sort of getting some new stuff down and putting some new music out, and then start playing some gigs and instead of playing 25-year-old songs, we'll play some brand new ones. So.
Well, I mean, it shows your growth as a person as well, isn't it? I mean, those lyrics, that was a 25-year ago experience. There's been you've basically had a whole new lifetime.
Pretty much,
you've had a quarter of a lifetime now out of the music, and you've had so many more new experiences and thoughts, and probably the way you attack your writing now.
Yep.
All those experiences are going to completely change the way. I don't think it'll change the sound, but maybe the feeling of it.
Yeah, I don't think our style will change a lot. I think it's probably just improved, maybe matured, I think. But it's definitely not slowing down. I can tell you that it's not slowing down.
Yeah. Well, and definitely, I mean, as you mentioned, like some of the other guys have still been quite active in music over that time in different bands, and they will have obviously learnt a lot through that as well. Yep. So I have to imagine that going into recording, they're gonna have like a whole new arsenal of tools compared to what they had back in the day, in terms of what they can bring to the table songwriting wise and just in terms of technique on their instruments and everything. So that's going to be incredible. I think that it's like I'm super keen to see what comes out of that, because the comparison of two releases from like basically when I was just when for me, like I was just really only starting to listen to metal in the late 90s. So to be able to compare something from then to something now without anything in between, you know, like I'm excited on that level to see the comparison and see how it to see what you guys bring with that. You mentioned that you guys have some gigs lined up between now and the end of the year. What's any of those been announced that you can talk about just yet?
Yeah, they're all announced. So we're playing in Newcastle next Friday, the 12th of July. Sorry, not this Friday coming up, the Friday after. The name, well, we're playing it's with Cruciform and Lord Chaos. So yeah, we played down in Melbourne at the Lead Beater about 4 weeks ago, so a bit of a break there. After Newcastle, our next one's at Ram It Down in August. So looking forward to that one. I think in September we're playing at Rockdale. I think they got a 30-year anniversary sort of metal fest there.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. And after that we got Steel Assassins.
Oh, shit. That's always good. Love Dave. Dave's a great guy.
Dave is
Dave Balfour used to come and watch us play at like the Bexley Inn and the Iron Duke, and you know, he hasn't changed a bit, you know. It's
he hasn't, man. I met Dave in like, God, probably the late 2000s. I think I was very briefly in a band that was like very like, it was all sort of like power, not power metal, but, you know, I guess adjacent to like power metal stuff, you know, kind of very old school 80s metal kind of energy to it. And, you know, like played like, I think I only played one gig with him, but yeah, like I met Dave through that. And every time I would encounter him over the years, because we haven't been particularly close, but, you know, you're in the scene, you're out and about, you run into one another, you know. Yeah, I think I must have seen him in my head, he's only ever in the one outfit. Yeah, because it's got such a, that's his style, right? And it's just the red mop of hair,
the big hair,
and the energy and the excitement and just the passion for for music and for metal, and he's a rad dude. He's such a rad dude.
Yeah, he's a lovely bloke to go with it too, you know? So.
Yeah,
it's a real shame that he used to run the North Sydney show.
Yeah, Metal on the North Side.
Yeah, that's just been shut down.
Yeah, I've heard about that.
The last show on the weekend. Very, very, very sad. Once again, another venue, and I've just done coverage on that, and I'm just like, maybe I don't do coverage of places anymore because it seems like I do them, and then a couple of weeks later they fucking close. I'm not doing. I won't do them anymore, everyone. I won't shut down any more venues.
Look, I mean, if anyone's going to be able to find another venue for something to carry on,
I was going to say, I'm sure he'll come up with something.
He's a man with a plan, and he's always out there. He's always out there trying to, you know, do what he can to boost the metal scene. So shout out to Dave. If you watch this, come on the podcast, reach out to us. We'll have you on. You've got a lifetime of stories, man. Yep. No, that's great. That's great. So I guess the last question, the last thing to talk about really there is like, what are you most excited for with getting back into the band? Is it like all the new bands that you're going to encounter at gigs because you kind of have been out of the loop for a bit, or is it just playing music with your mates again?
Well, look, I mean, you know, I think probably the biggest decision, you know, when Grahame sort of threw it out there and he said Kordek's in, and I said yes, and he said, all right, you know, we're doing it, you know, we're back. And I said, like, hang on, you know, I said, we need a bassist, you know. We got to see if Dicko's, you know, and, you know, me and Dicko were probably best mates at school, you know, and I wasn't sure if he was going to be keen or not. And like, you know, on the back of that message, like he was on there within about a minute going, hell yeah, I'm in. And I'm like, mate, you know, my best mate, you know, love the bloke. I hardly ever see the guy, you know, and sort of big set of excitement was just, you know, spending time with him and the other guys as well. You know, just getting out there and seeing all the people. It's like a really, like I said, it's a really good community, you know, like, there's never any aggression at the shows. Everybody's happy. Everyone loves seeing you. Everyone loves talking to you. But the most exciting thing, you know, it's recording the new music and playing.
Yeah, mad.
We had one song that we were sort of probably about 75% through it back in '99, and it was really, you know, taking our music to another level, I think. And then that was the first one, you know. As soon as I got my skills back, I got, you know, it's 25 years in the making, but this thing needs to be finished. So, you know, we finished that one, you know, and I've got a whole bag of them up my sleeve, you know, that we've knocked out since then. So, you know, I sort of, we just got them on Messenger at the moment, like playing through GarageBand. Then I whack them on all the time, and you know, I can't wait to record them and play them live. To be honest.
Oh, look, it sounds like there's, you know, it sounds like there's a lot of future there and a lot of stuff to come in the pipeline for you guys and what you've got lined up. So that's awesome. I'm glad to see that you guys are able to get back to it, because it's, you know, like I anytime I'm away from playing music for a short while, I really like it's always a great feeling to get back into it. So I can't imagine after being away from it for as long as you were, how good it's felt to be back on that horse.
Years of musical dopamine just stored up in his brain, just all come flooding out in one go. Like, I'm sorry, but artistic dopamine gets stored differently. That doesn't go with the normal dopamine. That goes with the different dopamine.
Well, I beat the crap out of myself for 15 years in a row, you know, through that period. So, you know, one thing to this thing, sort of for me, it's, you know, there's no sort of negative effects on my body, and, you know, like playing footy was great fun, and, you know, but I'm paying for it now. But it was, you know, it was one thing I sort of got into, and I thought, you know, it's something I can do for another 20, 30 years without any hindrance. And you know, I might not be playing death metal till I'm 70, but, you know.
Nah, don't say that. You've been the 70-year-old ever.
I hope
the young bucks out of it.
I mean, look, Metallica are well into their 60s and they're still up there playing the thrashy stuff. So
yeah, mate, they're definitely an inspiration. You know, like one of the sort of the guitarists that we had that filled in for us for a couple of gigs there. He was he used to talk about James Hetfield all the time, and you know, he's downstrokes. You know, he's still like 60 odd years old, and he's still so fast, you know.
Yep.
And like, you know, that's what I said. Well, you know, we think we're old, but, you know, I'm only 45, mate. We're spring chickens. So
that's it. If you went up to them and said it, they'd laugh at you.
Yeah.
You know? So yeah. It's how's the kids feel about it? Like when seeing Dad back up on stage at first, like seeing because it would have been like, I don't know how much you would have spoken about being in a band back when you were a young talk with the kids and stuff like that, and seeing Dad get back up there, how did they feel, and then how did you feel?
Well, like, my kids haven't watched me on stage. Like, they've seen the videos and that, but I definitely want to get them down to ram it down on the next one so they can watch. Mad. I'd say my daughter's probably not interested.
I guarantee when she sees you up there, her mind will change.
But it'll be good, you know. I hope that she sort of at least comes with. But my boy, he absolutely loves it. He loves my EP. He's constantly, we get in the car, he's, Dad, put your music on. He wants to play it. You know, he loves the drums. He's a bit of a turncoat. He kind of loves the drums instead of the guitar. But that's why.
He's got to get. That's a perfect mix. Now Dad's got someone to play along with.
That's it, mate.
Now you can go. If my son can play it and my normal drummer can't play it, well, guess what? Automation drummer, the son's coming in.
Well, he talks about it all the time. When he gets better, Dad, me and you can play together. So yeah,
That's so mad.
Dream come true, mate. So
That's
but
sick.
yeah, he was he's super excited. He really wants to come and watch me play.
Who was it that we had on last year in the run up to Hell Vegan Fest? We had a band. Was it Magnetron? That was like the father and son, like the grandfather and the father and the son were all
Three generations in one band.
all in the one band or something. It was like, it's crazy to think of, but like that the genre's been around that long.
He's in his 20s, but the band's been around for 30-something years.
Yeah, so I think it was his granddad and his dad were in it originally, and then now the granddad's out, and then it's the him and his father. It's it's crazy, but you love to see it. Like, you love to see that it can bring the family together and have that sort of effect for people. So that's amazing. All right.
It won't be until your daughter's mates go, "Oh, your dad's so cool. He plays in a band," and then it's like, "Oh, Dad plays in a band."
Yeah. Right. Well, we'll have all the links to the socials and everything down in the description of the video. So if people want to find you guys, they can jump on that. If you've been missing automation and you were a fan back in the day, let us know down in the comments, please. Let us know if you saw them back in the day. That'd be amazing.
You saw them.
And where we want to know all those details.
All those venues that closed.
Bring back the memories.
And get on them, follow them on the socials, get out to one of the new gigs, talk to them, be like, hey, tell them in person that you saw them back in the day, because that's so important to know that those fans are still there. Right. Thank you very, very much for that, Paul. We appreciate your time today, and we will. Thank you, Kyle, my co-host. Thank you, all the fans, for watching. We will catch you guys on the next one. Peace out, everybody.
Take it easy.